Good afternoon, Mount Vernon. Today is Tuesday, April 9th. And we are having our work session. Our work session was canceled or rescheduled from yesterday because of the solar eclipse. And I am sitting in the council president seat because the mayor is traveling. So today, when we start our work session, we're actually going to hear from, we have Deputy Commissioner of Planning, Sylvia Boulevard here to talk about something. So she'll let us know when she gets up. Commissioner.
Good evening, honorable council members. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, honorable council members. You have in your packet a referral letter from the planning department requesting the creation of a second assistant commissioner position and to reallocate ARPA funds from the mayor's for guaranteed income line to the ARPA for nonprofits grant budget line. And I'm here to talk about the position and why it is needed. We are managing millions and millions of dollars. And now we're in CDBG funds, and we're looking to establish a Section 108 guaranteed loan program, which would be a public facilities loan fund. And so in order to make sure we manage millions of dollars appropriately, we're going to need an additional person to help us with the compliance requirements. So we're going to have Davis-Bacon requirements, Section 3 requirements. We have to make sure that we meet and are able to meet all the requirements when HUD comes to monitor us. So there's a lot of that is being asked when we have millions of dollars coming in. In addition, we're also requesting EDI grants from HUD. So we have been allocated 1.5 million, which I'm having to be the person to manage to make sure we meet all those compliance requirements. It's been 2 years and we're at the cusp of getting those funds. And in large part it's taken this amount of time because of all of the things we have to do in order to be able to get those funds. And so we're releasing a third public notice. We've done an environmental review, which has been pretty robust for the sewer grant funds. But that gives you an idea how much work is involved in this. In addition, we're looking to launch a tenant-based rental assistance program. We have litigation before that we have to address with HUD regarding a voluntary compliance agreement. So there's a lot on the list, and I'm a team of one, so I really need an additional person to make sure that we manage, we're good stewards of public funds, and that we're able to meet public scrutiny. And we've been able to do that while at the same time trying to catch up with all of our audits. City audits as well. And with that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have about the position. Yes.
Acting Mayor.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions. First and foremost, a lot with this position has to do with accounting of the loan and compliancy.
No, it is programmatic compliance. So a lot of the programmatic compliance we're going to need to do.
For the layman, can you say?
So there are things we need to make sure that we make sure that the agreements are done properly, that we do the procurement properly, that we make sure that we do when we pay, we're paying prevailing wage, and that we actually go out there and meet with the laborers and actually have them fill out the forms. And then we have to make sure we have the spreadsheets and we do all of that to make sure we meet prevailing wage. It is making sure we do the public notices. It is, depending on what program it is making sure that we do everything we need to do and we sequence it correctly. It is administratively burdensome.
Okay, and how many people are in your department now?
In planning total,
That focuses on what you're doing with HUD.
it's me and Tanya, who is our accountant, who's focused on closing the audits. And it is a second person, Tiffany, who focuses on our COC homeless grants.
Okay, and
she's also now working on the planning department budget as well.
okay, budget. Okay, so Some of these grants that are coming in are new, and is that why you're bringing this position forward? Like this, because I'm curious as to why prior to this, we didn't need this position.
We've always needed more positions.
Okay,
But we have been focused on catching up on all of the old issues, all of the outstanding compliance issues. But now you're asking for more monies from Congress, so we may get congressional earmarks for 7 million. Now we're talking about potentially 7 million for the armory. So we're gonna end up having.
so we're bringing in more work,
We're bringing in more funds and we.
more
need to-
funds.
We need to be able to withstand the public scrutiny that goes with getting those funds in the city.
Okay. If this position was approved, could we potentially have them come every quarter to give us a report on the progress on how this is working out and going forward? Because we've approved positions before, especially when it comes to ARPA, and you know how that is. And I believe it's ARPA funding that's going to be funding this position, right?
We're part of the reason why ARPA is funding it is also because we have 25 nonprofit organizations that are getting ARPA funds. And so I've been working on the contract agreements, but then we're gonna have to make sure that once they receive the monies, we get all of the supporting documentation to show what they do with those funds, of what they have done, and so that we can report appropriately. And again, I can't manage all of this and all the other programs we're trying to launch as well.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Councilman Boxell?
I'm just curious about the level of the position. Why another commissioner, deputy commissioner position? I'm sorry, assistant commissioner and not like a lower level commissioner?
Because one of the things I'm looking at is sustainability. We need to have people who can write. The person I'm looking at, so the county, had a civil service exam for assistant commissioner of planning. So I'm looking at someone from that list who has experience with community development programs and actually is an attorney. So that as part of, I think the job of executive leadership is also to do succession planning. So because I'm appointed and so our commissioners are appointed, so if we end up leaving, there is people in place who can actually write, who can actually understand these programs and can provide leadership. And I'm looking at someone from that list, and she also happens to be an attorney. Yes.
Councilman Potteet?
Thank you, Acting President. DC Boulevard, I wanna applaud you for the work that you've done around the HUD Section 108 loan. I know I've been personally pushing you to get that done. So thank you. My question doesn't concern the position as much as the ARPA funds. And is there any way to get a specific understanding as to how much ARPA money is left and what it's allocated to? The reason that I ask is that there is a lot of departments here in the city that could use those ARPA funds. And not saying that what you're asking for isn't needed. I just don't understand. Is it $200,000 left over, $1 million, a couple of $1 million?
So these are from within the planning department budget lines. So the Mayors for Guaranteed Income Initiative has ended as of the end of March. We did it for 1 year, $1.2 million, $500 a month for 200 residents. And in 6 months from now, we're going to have a study done by the research team, ABT Associates, that will outline and really go into depth how those funds were allocated in terms of what did people use those funds for. And we know they've been using it for basic necessities, right? So we allocated, so there was 395,000. And then I was reminded by Condell Hamilton that 110,000 had been reallocated to the FEC initiative, which is a financial empowerment center, which I'm also launching. So this is the thing folks need to understand in the community is that all of these anti-poverty programs are being led by me. I'm developing and implementing all of these programs. I have a team and we are very fortunate that in the planning department, we have a very strong team, but we need more hands. So we're launching the Financial Empowerment Center with these funds. We are asking to reallocate 285,000 for this particular position. I have spoken with Condell, and then that would cover the salary and the payroll taxes. Health insurance would not be used, would not be allocated from these funds. So in terms of the rest of the ARPA budget, I know that the chief of staff and the mayor have been meeting with the city finance office. And so they can provide a more holistic overview in terms of what is remaining, what hasn't been spent, what can potentially be reallocated.
Acting Mayor, Gleason.
So you mentioned that this position will be taken off the county list, right?
We're looking at hiring someone from the county list if they were to accept the position.
Okay, does that become a permanent position here then?
No, but with the, it is competitive and it's gonna be grant funded, so no.
Okay. So how does that work? You have an employment agreement with them for that length of time, or?
Again, it's a grant funded position, so I'm looking to use ARPA funds for the next 2
Okay.
years and 7 months. If we get additional monies coming in from HUD, since we are potentially requesting 7 million, I'm going to ask for 10% for admin, and then that would help make this sustainable.
Has it been discussed how the benefits would be with the I apologize. You said that the salary would be coming from ARPA funds and that the health and benefits would be at the responsibility of the city?
Salary and payroll taxes, I would need to follow up with Condell about the health insurance piece, but he said not to worry about it, so again, I'd have to follow up with him, depending on what.
Okay, so that would just be, my question would be is whose responsibility would that come under? Because I don't know, ARPA funds, does it cover that? I don't think so, right? Does it cover the whole amount? So I'd like that question answered. Okay, that's all I have.
I have 2 questions, actually. To follow up on Councilman Box Hill's question about why it needs to be a deputy commissioner position, I wasn't quite sure. Give me a second, DC. So, the assistant commissioner position, you said that it's about succession planning and that you all are appointed, but this position isn't going to be union. So I don't quite understand the distinction that you're making when you say.
So, the grant funded positions, I'm not sure if grant funded positions are union or not. I know that in the county, this assistant commissioner of planning is a union position, so I'm not sure how that would work here or how that works with grant funded positions.
Yes, I guess my question is, why couldn't you have someone in a different role or a position that isn't assistant commissioner and plan for the future of the department? It just wasn't clear to me.
So this person, I'm looking long-term, because they are an attorney. They have practice in other parts of the country. They're looking to take the bar in February. So that position may evolve over time to do more of the housing attorney work. So I'm looking to see, I think there are questions about how we organize ourselves in our organizational structure. So we need to look at that very closely. But they have the ability to write. They have the ability, as I'm looking at contract agreements, I've been doing all of the writing of contract agreements. I've been very fortunate that Johan has been incredibly helpful to the planning department. But we've been relying a lot now because of the URA pieces. We've been relying on outside attorneys, so we need to see if we can bring some of that in-house.
Yeah, so that brings up a whole can of questions for me, right? Because now that they're doing legal work, if it's potentially a union position, they'll be outside of their scope once they become barred, and they'll need a different position, right, to qualify.
So short term, for the next 2 years, it is looking at helping us with all of the HUD pieces. And looking at the contract agreements that we put together for ARPA, it is looking at the contract agreements with subrecipients for the grants we receive. It is looking to make sure we understand all the regulatory requirements. So it's not just on me to understand the regulatory and statutory requirements. I'm not an attorney, but I've been the one doing a lot of this work because I'm a team of one. So I think it would be good to have a second set of eyes who has the capacity, understanding regarding policy and regulatory requirements.
I mean, I don't know how the law department feels, but to me, it seems like dangerous because they're, even though they may become barred at some point. First, it seems odd that we'll be shaping this for one particular person. Second, it seems odd to have someone who's not in our law department, who's not at a law firm that we have hired to start reviewing our agreements just to expedite, right? It sounds to me as if,
So, no, so we're looking at, I'm looking at someone who is an attorney down the road to work with the law department to see in terms of that housing code enforcement work. If that can evolve over time, right? But right now I'm looking at someone who can actually write, who understands the regulatory and statutory requirements. They may or may not look at that, but we have other people on that assistant commissioner list that, that we would consider as well.
then to follow up on Councilman Potteet's question about the ARPA budget, right? So we've been making some adjustments to the ARPA budget and it's not clear anymore what exactly is where. Do we know where the mayor is with the rebudgeting process for ARPA so that we can identify and have a vision as opposed to kind of doing these one-off approvals from ARPA?
I know they've been working on it, but I think that's a question for the mayor's office. I can't
Not a
answer that
problem.
question.
Okay, and then final question that I have was, I forgot because I'm getting old. I don't remember, but if I remember, I'll let you know. Thank you. Any other questions, council members?
Well, thank you for your.
Oh, I remember, look at that. So when the associate commissioner position came before council, maybe about a year and a half ago, the reason that it was the associate commissioner position, it was that it had all these confidential aspects to it, right? So we didn't want it to be a union position. We needed it to be an appointed position.
Exempt, right?
Okay. Why is that changing now? We still need someone in that role to handle the comprehensive plan, et cetera.
There were conversations with civil service and they indicated that that would not be able to meet the state requirements to be an exempt position. And so the commissioner has, and it was recommended he change the title from associate to assistant. I know there were at least 7, 8 people on the list who took the exam over in the county. So he's looking at that list as well of planning professionals who might be candidates to look at for the position after Catherine Mayo left.
I'm processing. I'm not quite sure I understood you.
So it can't be an exempt position is what he was told by civil service.
But don't they need to carry out the same exact things that she was carrying out in her position?
So you have her job spec and what the planning department is requesting is the change of title from associate to assistant, but the job spec remains the same. It was indicated by civil service, it needed to be a competitive position. So the person would have to take the exam.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. Why now does it need to be a competitive position? And a year and a half ago, it was fine as associate commissioner.
I don't know the answer to that. I wasn't involved in that process.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have another question. So, because I guess I was unclear if the position is a permanent position, but everything that you're saying is indicating that it is, being that it's taken from a list, it's a tested position so that then they will have some type of union protections. So
It's a grant funded position. So as long as we have grant funding and we have a term for it, then that position can exist. It has to be competitive, so they're going to be required to take the exam. So
they haven't taken the exam yet.
They, at the county, there was an exam that was done for this, for the assistant commissioner positions. And so we're looking at candidates from that list.
Okay, so, all right. I guess my question is then, is that list, are we picking someone from the top 3, the competitive list? Are we, because we've adopted the county list for different departments. We've used it for police, we've used it for, but once we use the list, then they become permanent if we're going to be following civil service rules, right? I mean, the funding is always, whether the position is grant funded or or from tax dollars.
So
Because
the-
we can always remove a permanent position if the budget doesn't support it, if we can't afford it.
Well, again, these are not city funds that are being used. These are grant funds.
Correct.
These are grant funded positions. So in terms of how we handle grant funded positions, there's a bigger question with city finance office, the controller. But again, I have budget specialists who had to take the civil service exam.
Mhm.
And even though they are grant funded positions, they're required to pass it. And so that's what we do with a lot of the grant funded positions that I have.
I guess what I'm saying is that the permanency of the position doesn't depend on the funding. Once the position exists, however it be funded, then they would still retain the civil service protections. Meaning that they won't be treated as an appointee once the position exists in some capacity on the city level.
Once the position exists, yes, but again, because these are grant funded positions, I'm not clear how much you treat them as city employees. I have, in every one of my positions I've done, I've said it's a 2-year or 3-year, and then we would look at the funding. And if there's more funding that I get from other grants, then I would ask for an additional 3 years or whatever the case may be. So how permanent it is, again, it's a term appointment that I've done. And we look to include as much as we can in terms of, and sometimes we're able to pay the fringe, sometimes we'll ask the city to pay for it, but again, it all depends how much funding we have. And we don't, and in a conversation I've had with the finance office is those positions do not automatically get salary increases because it all depends how much funding is available in the grant to be able to afford that. So they are not union positions, at least mine are not.
You could be non-rep and still get the union civil service protection. So, which is different from an automatic salary increase, but all right.
All right, and
Yeah.
and I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah,
And I will always tell you what I know and I don't know,
Yeah.
so I think the city finance office can answer more of those questions.
Thank you, DC Boulevard.
Thank you.
All right, anything else before we get into the tally sheet, council members? Awesome. Legislation and Public Works, Acting Mayor, would you do the honors?
Thank you, Madam Acting President. Item number 1, Elevate Dispensary and Ordinance authorizing the inaugural Elevate 420 Festival and Food Stock Block Party that is being held. Item number 2, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds for travel expenses to attend Smart Cities Connect Spring Conference that is on the agenda. Clerk, can we also make sure that I didn't see it, that the brochure is online? Item number 3, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing attendance to the 2024 Smart Cities Connect Spring Conference and Expo that's on the agenda. Item number 4, Recreation. Is that in the right place? An ordinance authorizing co-sponsorship, the 3rd Annual Autism Awareness Walk that's on the agenda. Item number 5, Public Works, Department of Public. Which item was that? Item number?
5. You got it. You're working on it now.
Okay, item number 5, Department of Public Works. An ordinance authorizing a comprehensive traffic study on Fleetwood Avenue, and that is being held. That is it, Acting President.
We have an add-on.
Oh, the add-on. Oh, sorry, pardon me. Item number 16, City Clerk, City Council, repeal and adoption of updated City of Mount Vernon procurement policy that is on the agenda. That is all, Madam President.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Human Resources.
Thank you, Madam Acting President. I have one item from Recreation, Department of Recreation, and ordinance authorizing attendance at the Convention Sports Entertainment Facilities, CSEF. 3 employees to attend the 2024 CSEF conference, and that will be on the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Thompson. Public safety and code.
Thank you, Council President. And just an item on protocol. Can we ask questions on the previous items?
Absolutely, I apologize.
No problem.
Yeah.
Just item number 1, the Elevate Dispensary. So that's being called for? It's being held. So then we aren't going to authorize it at all for 420.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to clarify. Got it.
So just to give background, right, the applicant came in and they have a desire to change their event from a block party. So it has to go through the same processes that it went through for this. And unfortunately, it may not make it for 420.
Thank you. Item number 7 from Public Safety, Department of Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a rental lease agreement between 1978 Third Avenue LLC and the city of Mount Vernon to lease 6 Gramerton Suite 407. That will be on the agenda. Item number 8 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing retroactive attendance for 2 members of service at the consensual encounters training Thursday, February 2nd, 2024. That'll be agenda pending. Item number 9 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the conversion of municipal lot 17 to permit parking will be on the agenda. Item number 10 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the attendance of 2 members of service at the Criminal Interdiction Workshop Training, April 24th to April 26th, 2024, will be on the agenda. And item number 11 from Public Safety, and ordinance amending ordinance number 19, adopted by the City Council on March 27th, 2024, entitled, an ordinance authorizing attendance at the 2024 Motorola Public Safety Summit from April 28th to May 2nd will be on the agenda. And that's all that I have, Council President, Acting Council President.
Yes. 2 things. For item number 5, just so council knows and the public knows, item number 5 is being held because we have to go through the proper procurement methods for that item. All right, and then for item number 8, item number 7, law department is still reviewing that lease. So wanted to know if we can hold it off until the next meeting.
Sure. So we'll change item number 7 from A to H.
A to C.
Calls. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Council Acting Mayor Gleason.
Yes, so item number 7, Department of Public Safety and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a rental lease agreement. I see that that is going to be used for internal affairs. Do we know why? I mean, I see that they want more confidentiality, but
I can speak to Commissioner Gibson tomorrow. I don't have any answers.
the only reason why I asked, I mean, for forever, internal affairs has been in the police headquarters. So I don't understand why that has changed. And if there's a need for more confidentiality, I would think that there could be a less expensive way to approach it.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Do we know what the layout is of IA? And do they have a floor? Do they have a section in the police department?
They have an office. I'm
Okay,
not sure how large it is.
got you. Okay. Any other comments, questions for legislation and public work, human resources, and public safety and codes? Finance and planning. Just kidding. Acting Mayor.
Okay, item number 9. I'm not familiar with where that lot is. It says on Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where the Rose Y was, or? Oh, wait a minute. Is that between the tennis court and Allen Memorial?
It's across from the church, yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I know. All right, thank you.
Finance and planning?
Thank you, Acting President. Department of Planning and Community Development and Ordinance authorizing the title change of Associate Commissioner to Assistant Commissioner. We're all fine with moving that forward to the agenda. That's on the agenda. Next, Planning Department, Community Development and Ordinance authorizing the special budget, the budget specialist to attend the American Society for Public Administration, ASPA conference, April 12th to the 16th, 2024. That's on the agenda. Department of Planning, Community Development and Ordinance authorizing the attendance of the GIS administrator at the 2024 Ursary User Conference from July 15th to 19th, 2024. That's on the agenda. And an ordinance establishing the second assistant commissioner position in the department and reallocate ARPA funds. So I think that we need a little bit more information on this because Ed had a question about the remaining funds and yeah, so call for.
Sure. All right, well, that looks like it concludes the acting Mayor Gleason.
Okay, so I think what got me caught up with these positions, associate commissioner to assistant commissioner, and then second assistant commissioner position, ARPA funded, right? So these are two, so one is being retitled and one is being added, correct? Okay, thank you. Okay, so do we want to call for the other one also or no? So I would just suggest, and it's the will of the council, I would just suggest to call for it at this point until we get some of those benefits questions.
So this doesn't,
Answer.
we already know that the city's covering the benefits for the person, the
Yeah.
position that's being changed, right? That's already in the budget as associate commissioner,
Okay.
right? So there's no change. The only thing that's changing is the title.
Title, okay, I got you. All right, we'll leave it as agenda.
Awesome. Tally, Councilman Potteet. No, you got it.
Getting back to this question of ARPA that we brought it up, or I brought it up and you second. Acting Mayor, do you want to talk to the mayor about getting an ARPA budget, a current ARPA budget, so we can figure out how much money's left?
Sure, no problem. We can get a report on that, I mean.
Yeah, so it would need to be adopted, right? And I think it's a great question because it also came up when we talk about the AV in city council chambers, et cetera. We just don't know, like, the line that the AV would come from, it doesn't have enough, right? So we need to figure out what's being reallocated to where before we can start making these ARPA budget decisions. Additional thoughts?
So I'm unclear and I'm sorry because I'm tired.
No worries.
So do you want me to ask for a draft report of where we are at this point?
Or an amended ARPA budget that can come before.
Amended
council.
ARPA budget?
Mhm.
Okay, that's fine.
All righty. Clerk Walters? Oh, so just to note, we actually received this at the last meeting. So just to note to the public, there wasn't a referral letter or anything that accompanied it, but we did receive the state of the city from the mayor. At the last meeting, we received a hard copy. Per the charter, she's required to give the council the state of the city. So just letting everyone know, we've received it. As you all know, it's been, the video or the presentation has been postponed until a later date. But just wanted to know that a state of the city has been given to the city council. And I'm sure the mayor's office can make this available for the public. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Awesome. I hope you have a great day. This meeting is